Life is an immeasurable logic and harmony, and since nature and life are one and the same, there are no absurdities or anomalies in life. Everything in the world is connected to one another, so are happiness and unhappiness in human destiny. Like cherries healthy and cherries poisoned, placed together in one fateful basket. Every person experiences a feeling of ultimate failure several times in their life, as if the ground beneath their feet, the helm of the ship, the reins of the rampaging horses have betrayed them. But everyone is convinced that after a series of happiness, a series of unhappiness comes, and vice versa. In moments of despair, a person does not think that beside their unhappiness, happiness is almost stepping forward. Happiness and unhappiness are the white and black horses running in the same direction, closely and side by side, so that the white pass alongside the black at times and vice versa. This is how life goes, which is entirely made up of such a match of white and black. Therefore, a person experiences happiness and unhappiness simultaneously, even when they don't realize it. There is no absolute unhappiness or absolute happiness, which is why we experience both simultaneously. Because of this, even in the greatest misery, comfort and encouragement are possible. If you are poor, take comfort in your youth. If you are ill, take comfort in your integrity and respect. If you are ugly, take comfort in your intelligence. If you have lost money, take comfort in not having lost your health and honor. This is a way to minimize and despise all misfortunes. But even in great happiness, all misfortunes should be revisited in memory, to prepare for the days when the black horse will jump ahead of the white. It should be said here, if I am wise, I am not young and beautiful. If I am rich, I am not healthy. And if I am both wise and healthy, I am not rich. Hence, there is a way for a person to never feel lost in trouble, nor excessively proud in happiness. Undoubtedly, even when a person thinks they have failed, they do not know that there is another undiscovered gold mine in their life. No one has the right to be desperate. Despair is not a conviction, but simply physical weakness, illness, or often stupidity. Misfortune seems much less when we keep silent about it than when we talk about it. By speaking of misfortune, it only becomes deeper and darker. Speaking about it 100 times only magnifies it 100-fold. Silence is the best remedy against misfortune. It is also the most dignified resistance and revenge against fate. It is often amusing what many people consider happiness. In any case, everyone does it more according to someone else's measure than their own feelings. Maecenas had the genius to be a great conversationalist, but he was satisfied with being only a rich courtesan. However, Seneca was just as rich, but considered himself happy only because he was a philosopher. Cato was a great wealthy man, but he did not indulge in luxury, but in virtue, for which he ultimately died. Many people did not consider life to be the main happiness. Epictetus tells how Vespasian once ordered a Stoic senator that he would kill him if he went to the Senate that day and spoke there. The senator replied that he would still go to the Senate and speak that day, adding, "It's your job to kill me, and it's my job to die without fear." Stoicism is the doctrine of the philosopher Zeno, but as a feeling, this doctrine is Socratic. Ant and Melita can kill me, but they cannot harm me. There are two real and greatest misfortunes of man: not to have health and not to have friends. However, there is a way out from both. A person either gets well or dies, and with friends they either reconcile or gain new friends. It is the hardest to regain honor once it is lost. Therefore, all other losses are personal, while this one affects the family and the country, and if a great person is involved, then it affects their idea as well. After the verdict, Socrates' students wanted to buy him off or help him to escape, but he chose to drink poison, saying his last devout words, "We must sacrifice a rooster to Asclepius." In other words, death is a cure. What is most strange is that young people feel unhappier than older ones. The despair of the young is sudden and bitter, because they do not know how many new paths of happiness and victory are left in life after the first defeats. Therefore, there are more suicides among the young. It is difficult for young people to be happy and contented because their life is excessively rich in desires but poor in means. Even when committing suicide, they do so out of unreasonable vanity and romantic parade rather than despair, because despair is just as incomprehensible among the young and healthy. Young people do not know what they have and therefore underestimate life. Shakespeare puts these words in the mouth of young Romeo: "Hang your philosophy if it cannot make a Juliet and move a city from one place to another." For many people, the idea of life is greater than life itself. Certainly, simple spirits simplify everything, and intelligent ones complicate everything. Truth lies in between and for the average person. Courage is a great condition for happiness. Without courage, one cannot be happy. Courage is needed for every action, and the more courage a person possesses, the broader and more complete their action will be. A brave person bears their pain calmly and is only similar to a great sage. Courage is primarily reflected in a person's attitude toward themselves. A timid and cowardly person would rather condemn Rome to fire and an entire nation to death than subject themselves to a difficult case. A person who is not courageous cannot be honest, because honesty requires sacrifices that a coward cannot endure, and generosity is needed, which they cannot even understand. Even cowardice is bloodthirsty. The greatest tyrants and killers were cowards. Only a hero is courageous and only a villain is fearful, because a hero is spiritually pure while a criminal is spiritually disturbed. Courage is not only reflected in major issues of honor and survival, but also in very small relationships and anywhere unselfishness and kindness is sought. Miserly people are usually great cowards. Miserly people are not only miserly when it comes money, but also when it comes to friendship and kindness. They are petty and envious. It is difficult for them to grant someone a golden coin, just as it is difficult for them to do someone a favor, even if it is a word. A miser is an incarnation not of a single vice, but of several vices, of which their stinginess is only their most visible manifestation. There should be something that is outside of movement and change, something constant and determined and central for our entire internal life. Life cannot be imagined differently than a closed circle, nor can a person be imagined differently than as the central point in that circle. However, even in a person there is another circle of internal happenings with something amidst that circle that is central, whether it be a central feeling or a central passion or a central event or a central habit. And that which is central in us, that is a person's entire nature and story, and whoever does not have it is indefinite without personality, a wanderer. They get lost in 1,000 contradictory thoughts, feelings, and events, like a person without character, without intention, without a mission. Brave people have that central force exceptionally expressed and therefore always find the right path to take. Cowards always take the wrong path. Every person has as much intelligence as is necessary to be happy, even if they achieve their own happiness. Descartes has already said that intelligence is among the most evenly distributed things in the world because, so they say, people differ more by their memory and refinement than by their healthy reason. It is not normal to be unhappy. While a person is young, they are always beautiful enough, and when they are older, they are always experienced enough. It is not normal but quite rare not to be ugly and foolish. Undoubtedly, the greatest misfortunes for humanity are caused by fools. The greatest tragedy is that a fool does not know that they are foolish, just as the bad one does not know how bad they are, and the world might have been saved if fools knew what kind of misery they brought to humanity. Stupidity is undoubtedly at the root of every vice and crime. Finally, a fool should be clinically treated as a dangerous patient. It is a great misfortune for society and the state that vices come from above, while stupidity comes from below. We can defend ourselves from the bad, but the fool is the only criminal that disarms us in advance. When Athens ceased to be Socrates and Pericles and became the Athens of demagogues and commoners, the city of Cleon, Pisander and Cleophon, then Plato preached the cult of intellectualism as the salvation for society, while Aristotle preached the cult of nobility as the salvation of society. But the commoners and fools had already gained power, and the city was confused when it looked at the downfall of the state and the catastrophe of wisdom. On the other hand, the contemporaries of old Cato considered excessive philosophizing in Greece as the main cause of its downfall. One of the reasons why the military Rome always disliked philosophy was the black experience of Greece. In the 2nd century BCE, the Roman Senate ordered that the books of King Numa be burned because the senators found philosophy in them. The same Senate later drove philosophers out of Rome, considering philosophy a perversion imported from abroad, and Caracalla drove philosophers out of Alexandria, the new center of philosophy, to finally exterminate that perversion. This hatred of Athenian wisdom lasted for centuries. In the 6th century of Christianity, Justinian abolished the teaching of philosophy in Athens by decree and confiscated the great estates of the Platonic philosophers, who then fled to Persia. There are people who do not say a single stupid thing their entire lives, but they do 1,000 of them. And there are people who say everything empty, but everything they do is wise. A lazy person loves to talk, but a person of action loves to be silent and does not give words any value. Words are the enemy of momentum and flight. It is enough to say a single intention twice to someone, and it will immediately weaken by half. Great strengths are silent in a person as well as in nature. Napoleon, for the most part, was a silent man. Unhappiness that a person fears from coming makes life bitter for them more than the ones that have already come and from which they suffer. Of all misfortunes, a person fears poverty the most, which is, however, the least of a person's evil. We wait for something our whole lives, and hoping for it is a little bit of despair. That is why the old sages preached as a condition of happiness not to wait for anything. One of the creators of Stoicism, Stilpon, teacher of Zeno, said that the greatest good is to be indifferent and insensitive. Sit it bonum animus impatiens, says Seneca.